Excellent. Okay, everyone, welcome to the Bristol Town Council meeting of October 20th. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the first item of business is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that, and I would like to pull KK1 to go with F38.
So we have a motion to approve and to pull KK1 as part of that motion. Tim, you okay with that? Excellent. We
So
have that.
moved.
Thank you. And then we have it seconded by Tony. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is the submission of town council meeting from the September 29th.
Motion to approve the previous minutes.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is public hearings. The first public hearing, we have Christopher Clayla for Toasted Bun Hospitality, doing business as the Statesman Tavern. And this is a request for the Class BV liquor license. I just want to call to the attention that C1 and D1 will also need to be approved.
Thank you. So I'm going to open the public hearing. So I'm going to ask, is there anyone here to speak in favor? I would assume Christopher would want to speak in favor. Welcome.
Hello,
If you could state your full name and address for the record. please.
Christopher Clayla, 10 State Street, Warren.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. Last time I was here, you guys heard the story. It is what it is. We're looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. There's some small stuff we want to do inside to kind of give it a facelift, just some minor painting and stuff. Everything seems to be in order. All the good standing letters are there. Everything's up to date. We're looking back to getting in business again, getting our same employees back in there.
Excellent. Any questions? No? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is B2, and this is Grace Waters, Inc., doing business as Aiden's Pub of 5 John Street. And this is a request for transfer of the Class BV Intoxicating Beverage license to AZJ John Street LLC.
We just
Thank-
voted- we didn't vote on it, did we? We just voted to close the public hearing, didn't we?
We did close the public hearing,
But we're not,
correct?
we're still on it.
Right. Well, we can actually, because the public hearing doesn't include the other
Oh, yeah, yeah,
agenda
yeah.
items
We
are
can do
not
it
public
after.
hearing
Okay. I
requirements.
just didn't know if we were going to vote on
Yeah.
that right now. Okay, sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what, since we've stopped, why don't we get a motion to move forward C1 and D1?
And
we'll take-
D2?
And D2, thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So we'll take C1 first.
So C1 is ordinance 2021-17, and this is the alcoholic beverage license establishments. And this is to increase the number of BV licenses from 31 to 32.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
So we have a motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony. Just for clarity for everyone, we are creating with this ordinance an additional liquor license, which was requested by the applicant that was just in front of us moments ago. So we have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item would be D1, and this is for the licensing board. This is a new petition, Chris Clayla for Toasted Bun Hospitality, and this is the request for the BV liquor license.
Based on all the positive recommendations and the results of the public hearing, I make a motion to approve the request for a Class BV liquor license.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And lastly, D2, and that's Christopher Clayla for Toasted Buns Hospitality, doing business as Statesman Tavern, and this is for the sidewalk use license for 21-22.
So just, if I may,
Sure.
just for clarity, the recommendation is for approval, which I certainly agree with, for the sidewalk itself, not additional, parking spaces. Those, as this council took action on, go away. My memory serves November 30th. So this would, am I correct?
15th.
Is the 15th? I thought it was, okay, so November 15th. Please.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, just make a motion to approve based on all the recommendations, positive recommendations for the sidewalk use license for 21-22.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good luck, Christopher.
Yeah, good luck.
Yes.
Good luck, Chris.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is B2, back to public hearings, and this is Grace Water, Inc., doing business as Eden Pub for 5 John Street. This is a request for the transfer of the Class BV intoxicating beverage license to AZJ John Street.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing. So I'm going to open the public hearing and ask, is there anyone here to speak in favor? If you could state your full name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Jeffrey Quinlan, 1220 Ives Road, Warwick, Rhode Island.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the council. My name is Jeff Quinlan, applicant and principal of AZG John. By way of quick background, I am a seasoned hospitality operator with locations throughout Rhode Island and southeastern Mass. I am also a 2008 graduate of Roger Williams Law and have always enjoyed the quaint nature and character of the town of Bristol. So when the opportunity to work with Mr. Graham and Betty Ann came about, it was a perfect opportunity. The track record that Mr. Graham has established in almost a 30-year period is quite impressive for our industry. We will be focused on preserving Aiden's as a local institution and continuing Mr. Graham's legacy as best as we can. I certainly have some big shoes to fill. With that said, I'm happy to entertain any questions that the council may have.
Council.
Just, I'm glad to hear you're not going to change the menu.
No, sir. No,
Because
sir.
I have a 170-year-old lady that would be very upset, and I'm not kidding. A 170-year-old, she would be very upset
Very
if you
good.
did change that
I look
menu.
forward to meeting her.
Anyone else? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone to speak against? Anyone to speak against? Anyone to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is B3, and this is Plyla Avalanche LLC, 198 Thames Street. This is a request for transfer of the Class BV intoxicating beverage license to AZJ Thames Street, doing business as Harbor House.
I make a motion that we approve the transfer.
I think this is the next public
Oops,
hearing. This
I'm
is
sorry.
for
Yeah.
D3,
B. Do you want
I'm
to
sorry.
hold the
Nope.
other 2 items?
my fault. No, I'll withhold that.
Okay, sorry.
Thank
So this
you.
is the public hearing for the Harbor House.
Mhm.
I heard you and I'm looking at that. Okay, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? I know you've all heard this before. Is there anyone here to speak in favor, please? Believe it or not, you don't have to state your name and address for the record.
Just briefly, thank you. We look forward to working with the HDC and various town departments at 198 Thames to bring our vision there to life. Concept coin, the Harbor House, will be a chop and seafood fare focused operation with a wide ranging and rotating menu and also multi-level and outdoor dining, which will be a complete 180 from operations past, which I hope that everyone will look forward to and enjoy.
Anything else from the council?
I'd just like to say I'm glad to see you're moving in there. We're looking forward to the lights going on.
Very good.
So
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against?
Motion to close the hearing, public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next public hearing is for B4, and this is ordinance 2021-16, chapter 28 to the zoning ordinance. And this is to allow electric vehicle charging stations to include those with display advertising that provide charging services at no cost to user. We also have a recommendation from the Community Development Director, Diane Williamson.
Diane, would you speak on, why don't you start the conversation on this?
Sure, and actually the recommendation is to you from the planning board.
Yes.
So we had done 2 iterations of this draft. We did one in September that covered a little bit more broader amendment. The planning board did not support that. They had concerns about really the aesthetics and the character of Bristol and felt that the display ads wouldn't fit within that. So we revised the ordinance to allow them in more limited zones with a special use permit setback from the street. Really thought we had kind of captured the concerns that the board had in September, but they voted again to not support it. And they actually, I think, would like to see electric vehicle charging stations, but they did not like the display ads. Again, they thought they were just not in keeping with Bristol's character. And they would like to really see, I think, a plan or a policy that I can help draft if you refer it back to me to kind of lay out where these might go if we're going to allow them, if we're going to look at other parking lots in addition to commercial parking lots and so forth. So unfortunately, it did not go forward through the planning board's review.
So this is public hearing. So this B4 is public hearing. So that was a great synopsis of what happened. So before the council weighs in, I'd like to open it up to the public. Is there anyone to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against?
Good
I know
evening,
you gotta go either black or white on that one. I understand.
Well, I'm
it.
kind of
So
a
if
gray
you're-
guy on
if
this
You're
one.
ambivalent. So if you could state your full name and address for the record,
Peter Hewitt, 11 Wendy Drive, Bristol.
welcome.
My only concern with this issue is who's paying for if the installation of these electronic car chargers is approved, who's paying for the installation and the maintenance of those units?
So I'm in this particular, what's in front of us at the moment is an ordinance just allowing this to happen.
Yep.
And it was specifically having to do with the advertising on it is kind of what the sticking point was for the council. So it is not a specific area at the moment. It is not town run or privately run. That's not anything proposed here at the moment. This is just solely to say it's okay to do it.
Should I
in
come back
Bristol.
at the next issue?
Yes,
See whatever it is?
yes, C2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else, I guess, to speak against? Is there anyone else to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr.
And look at that, C2.
C2, right on. Mr. Chairman and members of the council, next item on the agenda is C2, and this is for the same of the public hearing. This is for ordinance 2021-16 for the electrical vehicle charging stations.
So, and Peter, I'll let you speak just in a sec. As we've already heard from Diane, the recommendation from the planning board was to deny. And I think it's worth saying one more time that it is not against charging, nor is this council, as far as I know. The issue was the advertising, and it was a 9x9, call it a TV on top of it. And the planning board felt it was inappropriate for advertising. It's against our current zoning. So I think that was the pushback. I do believe, and Diane, you kind of suggested this, that this should be referred back to you and the planning board, in my opinion. And that way we can get a recommendation on, does our current zoning allow for it? Do we need to make any changes to allow for charging stations in general? And then at the next step, if someone's interested in doing it, then the systems are there. Because as far as I know, we're silent in our zoning, which means that I don't think it's an issue, but we need some clarity on that. So colleagues?
So I would just make a motion that we refer this back to the planning board and the Department of Community Development to come back with additional information on where these might go, how this relates to our zoning, current zoning, and to either present us with another draft or, continue to work on it.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, Councilman Lane. Go ahead.
Sorry. I just wanted to correct it for the record.
Please.
You said 9 by 9. It would be a 9 square foot, right? Or
Yes.
9
Thank you.
square
I
feet. So-
apologize. I misspoke.
Yeah,
Thank you
9
for
by
that.
9. I was
Yes.
thinking, wow,
Thank you.
that would be a really big
9 square feet,
television
you're absolutely
screen.
correct.
So, yeah, we could put on a show for the whole entire town of Bristol or
Yeah.
something like that. I just had a question, Diane, if do other towns have the advertising? I haven't seen them yet. I took a chance. I was on the URI campus today and I went to go look at some of the electric vehicle charging stations. And I've noticed that they try to tuck them into certain places where they kind of obscure them a little bit. So they put some shrubbery around them and things like that. But I never got a sense of what something like that might actually look like. And was there like a demo brought to the planning board about what these could look like, or?
Yes, so there were photographs of others from a town in Massachusetts that were presented to the board. And there are some in the process of being permitted in Rhode Island. I reached out to some colleagues and they haven't quite made it to the permitting step yet. So they didn't really have any guidance on what they're looking at. And again, as you know, and for the benefit of the speaker who came to the podium, the model for this is that the display ads would pay for the EV charging service. So it's a specific model that needs the display ads to really work for the purpose. But I will reach out to my colleagues. I've seen them in other places. I was in East Greenwich the other night and there were a whole row of them in a shopping center. So not the specific ones that we're looking at for here, but a different type, which kind of piqued my curiosity too, because we hadn't really thought about it in that regard. But so we will find out what other towns are doing, best practices, and get something back to you.
And the other thing I wanted to be clear about was this public hearing is just about that part of the ordinance that deals with EV stations that are displayed, or ones with displays for
And
advertising,
that
right?
was my earlier point. was
Oh,
to
okay,
say
okay,
that
all right.
because our current zoning is silent on EV charging stations,
Okay.
does that, and we just need some clarity, and obviously Diane will work with the solicitor and the planning board, of course, to find out if there's something that we need to make a change on, because we may not. There may be no action necessary, and then it would go through its normal permitting process for electrical and all the other things.
Yeah, and then, if something did require the special use permit to actually require the EV charging station with the display, that special permit would come to us and we would be, no.
Well, that's what this
Okay.
is. This is saying, no,
Okay.
it's not okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and the draft that we had provided would have made it a special use permit use, which would require zoning board
Zoning
approval.
board approval.
Right.
Chairman, I just had a quick question, Diane. Just had a quick question. As far as the ads go, were they nervous about certain types of ads? You said it was kind of rejected because of ad display. Were they nervous about a particular types of ads that we didn't want? Because my understanding, the charging stations were going to go like in Stop and Shop, not in the center of town, and they were kind of be in a commercial area. I guess I'm just trying to understand, maybe, because I don't think the town should be involved with purchasing any charging stations or getting to that business. I think we should leave it to the private sector to do it, definitely. That's just my opinion, but I was just curious, like, I understand the ads are going to pay for it, but is there any way we can curtail the types of ads if you felt that there were types of ads that they were objections to?
So my understanding is that they do all different ads, products that they might sell in the stores, ice cream and milk and so forth. They might also get corporate vendors, Netflix, JetBlue, things like that. The planning board did have quite a bit of discussion about that, and they were
Mhm.
cautioned by the solicitor that we can't regulate content.
Okay. All right.
So it became more, I think, just the visual of the brightness, the size, and again, the concern that this isn't really where Bristol's going with their signage, you know, in their opinion.
Mhm.
We don't really support those kinds of signs elsewhere.
Mhm.
So I think they had a hard time allowing them in this,
Sure.
in this instance.
And what you're saying is once we get the zoning sort of cleared away as far as where particularly it can go or it's accepted, then we can kind of fit a design around that. Because, right,
Right, and I think just to look at the model itself, you know, that's one way to provide EV charging, but maybe there are other ways that we
Yeah.
can do it, or that it can be done, I should say. Yeah.
It's definitely the future. I mean, we know electric cars are out and they're coming and they're
Right.
going to be growing. So it's just a
Right.
matter of time.
Yeah, right, right.
So,
So we'll get on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
They have, there's a gas station on, like at the, sorry, at the
No, it's
Seacon
okay.
exit that has little TV screens in their gas pumps. I don't know if you've ever been there. And the ads kind of go through, like you just said, some, you know, snippets of a little bit of the Today Show, I don't know, whatever, or what they're selling in the store, that kind of thing. So I'm guessing there might be some sort of a, I don't know if there's a provider out there that will be eventually of, that you can just buy this canned package, kind of like elevator music, whatever. Is that out there already? Is that what you're thinking?
That I don't know, but,
Just kind of runs on a loop kind of thing. when I'm
right,
putting gas
I've
in,
seen
yeah.
those at gas stations too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, Cumberland Farms has some of those
Yeah,
already, right? So I'm hearing correctly that we do not have any, the town does not have any charging stations at the present time. Am I correct?
There are a couple in town on state properties.
Right. Yeah, I was going to refer to that. I
Right.
did see those at Cold State Park.
Right, those are state
but
and
it-
they don't trigger local permits.
Got it.
But, yeah.
There was an
so-
example given earlier that earlier in the day that, for example, a gas station could have them, right? We've all been at restaurants, Chili's comes to mind in Somerset where they have them that you can park there and use it, but there's no signage on it besides, you know, maybe naming it Tesla, for example. So, but unless there's anything else, I want to, you want to share something, Pete?
Yes, I do. And this is the same Pete Hewitt who was here a couple of minutes ago from Oliver Wendy Drive.
Thank you for the
Bristol.
clarity.
Yeah,
I
you're entirely
very
welcome.
much appreciate that.
Perhaps my comments or my concerns are a bit premature since we're talking about advertising, approval or disapproval of advertising for electric chargers versus the actual installation of such. My concern focuses more on the installation. Who's going to pay for that? Is it going to be the electric company? Is it going to be the state? Is it going to be the town? And I'm concerned, I don't want taxpayers' money being paid for the installation of electric chargers throughout Bristol. On the advertising, if in fact the town council has no intention of agreeing or allowing for the town money to pay for the installation, then it seems to me there's no reason for you to approve the advertising for such. Because once you approve the advertising for such, who controls the nature of the advertising? Is it going to be the town council? Is it going to be the advertisers? So those are my essential concerns if you get right down to it. Thank you
Certainly.
very much.
So just for clarity for everyone, this was in front of us because a petitioner asked to install these, not the town. And I know that there was discussion about that, but the town has no plans. That's not what's in front of us this evening. If, well, actually, I'll just stop right there. So there is nothing in front of us, nor are we working on anything, nor is anything on 6 months down the road or whatever.
Well,
So
the federal government's working on it, isn't it? As part of an infrastructure bill, so it may end up coming through the town, like who knows,
that's
but,
true.
you know.
So so we have a motion made by Mary, seconded by Tony to refer to Diane and the planning board. May I also suggest that motion include the denial of the second, well, denial of adoption, maybe is a overly worded way to do that.
So move.
Excuse me.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. Any other discussion? All right,
Okay.
hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Diane.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is C3, and this is ordinance 2021-18 to Chapter 2. And this is the procedures for department purchases for non-budgeted funds and the procedures for competitive bidding. And this is the second reading for adoption.
Motion to approve the second reading for adoption.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve. Just to take a moment again, this was discussed at our last meeting, but pretty much we changed the charter to kind of coincide bidding, such and so forth. That was the primary motivation behind this. And this allows that to happen along with other things, but that was the primary motivation.
Consistent with the state and yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. As the state's minimum bid goes up, so does ours, instead of keep changing it all the time. And again, there are other things in here, but that was the primary motivation. Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is C4, and this is ordinance 2021-19 for chapter 16, and this is for motor vehicles and traffic. And this is for a patron's lot for short-term parking, employees lot, and patrons lot for long-term parking, and this is first reading.
Mr. Chair, make a motion that we consider this first reading.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary to constitute first reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is D3, and this is AZJ John Street LLC doing business as Aiden's Pub, 5 John Street, and this is the request for the transfer of the Class B intoxicating beverage license.
Motion to approve the transfer of the Class BV intoxicating beverage license.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve the transfer. I just want to take a moment again, and Aiden, you've been there, and Betty Ann, you've been there for a very long time. You were an integral part of not only John Street, but the town. And you didn't know I was going to say this, but the kindness that you've given back to the community, including the storefront on the corner of State and Hope Street, allowing what would have been maybe a less joyful Christmas to be that much more joyful. Things like that. You know, I may have had a beer at your establishment at one point. I can neither confirm nor deny. So, but it's been a pleasure. Anything else?
I think a few of us did.
Any other discussion? Well, look at this with a clap. Yeah. Any other discussion?
Well said, Chairman.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is AZJ John Street, and this is doing business as Aiden Pub, and this is the request for the vigiling license.
Based on all the positive recommendations, make a motion to approve the vigiling license.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Next item is D5, and this is AZJ John Street doing business as the Harbor House, and this is the request for the transfer of the Class BV intoxicating beverage license.
Motion to approve the transfer of the Class BV intoxicating liquor license.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And the next one is D6, AZJ John Street doing business as Harbor House, the request for the vigiling license.
And again, based on all the positive recommendations, make a motion to approve the vigiling license.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Mary to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good luck.
Mr.
We look
Chairman-
forward to nothing changing. So, no, good luck, seriously.
Except for the Harbor House.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is D7, and this is Lisa Holzler from Angelina's Inc., and this is the request for a sidewalk use license.
Is she here? Is that her back there?
Council?
Based on all the positive recommendations, make a motion to approve the request for a sidewalk use license for 2021-22.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Mary to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is D8, and this is Melissa Baring from Crave Nutrition, 576 Medicom Avenue, and this is a request for a vigiling license, and this is for new ownership.
Is Melissa here?
Here.
Could Could you state your full name and address for the record? And this
Sure.
is your opportunity for a 30-second commercial.
Melissa Baring. My physical address is 162 Bedford Street, Lakeville, Mass. And I am taking over Crave Nutrition from my wonderful friend back here. I've been in operations management for over 20 years. I really like Bristol. I've been to Roger Williams Law, spent some time there. Served on a number of board of directors in Rhode Island, so Rhode Island's near and dear to me. Crave Nutrition offers healthy shakes, teas, and beverages. And we'll be offering wellness profiles, potentially running some small fitness camps out of the business as well, and also partnering with the community as often as we can.
Thank you. Council?
Well, based on all the positive recommendations, make a motion to approve the vending license, and we wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony to approve. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody else in favor? I didn't hear anybody. Anybody against?
No, I said aye.
Oh, I didn't hear
Yeah.
it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is F1, and this is Myra Page, 423 Hope Street, and this is a request for parking modifications on John Street.
So what's in front of us, and maybe Mr. I don't know where our next step is on this one. Typically, I would ask for some input from, and actually maybe Major, you could share what input the police department has, what discussions happen. And also, Mr. Administrator, I know that our Department of Public Works Director had also given us a recommendation. Maybe you could speak to that if you would. Major?
Sure. So Lieutenant Wozni reviewed this petition. He did meet with the petitioners and also spoke with management at the time of Aiden's. I had discussion with the new owners this evening, brought them up to speed on what the concerns are in the area. And like you stated, we have met with the Public Works Director, Lieutenant Wozni, and Director Pro walked the area. And they are going to ensure that the signage that is posted there is reflective of what's in the ordinance. There's some discrepancies right now. And additionally, the new owners, they've agreed to speak to their vendor and inform the vendors that they are not to park on John Street, blocking the roadway while they make their deliveries. They're going to work with each vendor either to get in the parking lot or to move along on Thames Street while they're making their deliveries, so John Street is open and accessible.
So repainting what is there, cleaning up the signage itself, and then making sure that, as we have in other streets recently, making sure that ordinance coincides with what's there. Right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Mr. Administrator?
Director Perella did go out, he surveyed the exit. He did indicate that he agreed with the petitioner, but felt as if the first step would be to clearly mark the no parking space, which is closest to the exit, to the west of the exit, and also to repost the loading zone with arrows where the loading zone actually is in restripe, and take that first route for a total no parking on that side of the street. So
Excellent.
a measured approach.
Excellent. Okay.
May I just ask the administrator a quick question on that? I mean, I think it was good that that solved this way. Are the petitioners been aware of this solution, and have they been told about it, or?
I don't believe so.
So they weren't part of the discussion?
Madam Clerk?
I did speak to her today, and I thought she said she was going to be here. Is she here? So, yep, she's back there. So I believe she is aware.
If you could state your full name and address for the record, please.
Myra Page, 420 Street, Unit K.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I have to say that Lieutenant Wozni was very helpful. People have been nothing but supportive. Melissa was also very helpful just to listen to the issues. We want to be as cooperative as we can. We think Aiden's is great, but sometimes you have to go the wrong way to get out of the building, and that's great. So because it's one-way street and it's narrow, you guys know, because Court Street's the other side of it. So I really appreciate the process, and we'll see what the new striping and signs provide, and looking forward to a good resolution. So thank you.
It's really important too that, the major and I spoke prior to the meeting, that if you do see an issue there after paint, and paint is not going to keep wrong people from doing wrong things, but the prior chief used to like to say, first we educate, then we enforce. So maybe a couple of education points, and then if still necessary, then we can take the next step.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. Anything else on the council?
No.
Okay. So
Motion to receive and file?
no, it would be to deny.
Motion to deny. Motion to deny?
Well, should we send it back to the DPW though, for other alternative resolution?
I don't believe, actually, that's a great point, Mary. I don't believe that there's any action that isn't already stated in here, except that maybe it needs to, it's a great point,
I think it needs to be
to
somewhere on the
refer
record.
to
Just to follow up on the painting.
major, what we need to do the research to find out, does ordinance correlate with current signage and painting, correct? That has not been done?
That has been done.
It has been
Lieutenant
done.
Wazee-
Oh, okay.
Yes, he did look at the ordinance and there was some discrepancies with what is marked on the roadway. And that's going to be corrected, along with the additional items that Mr. Perrella has. stated
so
to
it's
the
complete.
administrator to do.
So excellent. So maybe, Mary, to your point, and what was already stated was maybe we can refer this
I think to the administrator and
Yes.
DPW and the police department to
and the
come up with
solicitor
a
to create an
resolution,
ordinance. Yeah.
you know, as discussed. And I mean, I think it should be somewhere in the record that we didn't just
Pause just for a moment.
What they waiting
We're
to see?
having, oh, it looks like our video came back up again. We're just pausing just for a moment. Chris, are you all set? They're checking it right now. All set. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is F3, and this is Brian Dwiggins for Borales Coffee Company LLC at 500 Wood Street, Unit 113. And this is a request for one additional Class BV liquor license. And this was continued from the September 29th meeting.
Is Brian here?
Yes.
Hi, welcome. If you could come up and state your full name and address for the record.
My name is Brian Dwiggins, 144 Whipple Road in Smithfield. Thank you for seeing us today. I just want to first apologize for the last meeting. I made a mistake. When I was going for my licenses in East Providence, I had received some sort of notification of that we had everything was on the docket. So I naively assumed that it would be a similar situation here. So I just want to apologize for not being here at the previous reading. But we're here now. I try to learn from my mistakes and just want to move forward here. We started as a coffee roaster in just roasting my first batch in July of 2014. After a short time, I had to decide whether or not to grow my business or whether to continue doing my real job at the time, which was working as a film lighting technician in the New England film industry. I chose, so I could either grow the business and quit that movies or really go after the coffee thing something that I was really enjoying. So I chose to evolve. I did some research. I found their depot in Riverside Square in East Providence, which if you may or may not be familiar with. But when I went into that location, I knew it was the location for us. And it was, it was going to be beans and coffee and all about the community. Coffee is our primary product, but it isn't our only product. For us, it's really more about the experience. We tried several things. Some things worked, some things didn't. My wife, Jessie, over here, she's going to elaborate. We had initially sort of planned on being side by side, but we're just going to run with the platform. So Jessie will elaborate when I'm done here.
You're more than welcome to stand up there together. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken publicly in quite a while, and I'm shaking in my shoes here.
It is a lot
This
of
is my
fun,
wife,
isn't it?
Jessie.
Yeah, we're not really scary.
Yeah, we're not.
No, I was actually very relieved. You're a very unintimidating bunch, and we're very excited to be working with all of you in any capacity over the next several years.
We're trying hard to be more intimidating, but it's not working.
Well, 'tis the season. We can go find some masks or something. So the community let us know what they wanted. We try to create something, so what we want to do here in Bristol is create something like nothing else in the East Bay. Achieving all the things that we couldn't really pull off in East Providence. We have a small space there. We have a beautiful patio. We're right on the East Bay bike path. It's a great location, but we've always been kind of limited. And again, Jesse's going to sort of dive into a little bit more of that. But our whole mission with whether it's in Riverside or roasting, our whole sort of brand identity is being a catalyst for community. We want to create an all-day space for all ages and add to what is already going to be a very vibrant community in Unity Park. In over 5 years of operating the cafe in Riverside, we've learned what works and what doesn't work. And I've really found that, especially since post-COVID, we've been closing at 3 o'clock and our sales have not really been affected. So 3 o'clock is kind of like the magic time to kind of close the coffee shop. It just hasn't been viable to be open after that time. And with all the other great vendors that are coming in and other tenants in Unity Park, I want to be part of that community. So we are hoping to get the liquor license so that we can extend our hours of operation so that we're not closing down when everybody else is starting to open up. So we're hoping to find the parallels between coffee and cocktails. Baristas and bartenders are very synonymous, where essentially the barista or the bartender, they are crafting a unique drink for that customer right in front of them. It's a very unique experience. It's taking a artisanal beverage and an elevated drink and providing it for that one person. So we're not making blenders of something and pouring it for a dozen people at a time. We're making each drink for a unique individual, whether it's like a soy latte extra dry, or whether it's like that dry martini with extra olives or whatever that drink may be. So we're all about creating a unique experience. We don't want to be a bar. We want to be a destination. We want to draw people not only from Unity Park in that neighborhood, but also from all of Bristol, all of East Bay, Southeastern Massachusetts, and everywhere up from beyond. Destination for great drinks, desserts, other upscale offerings in a welcoming and friendly environment. Unity Park is going to allow us to once again evolve to something that I've been trying to do for 5 years, but we just haven't been able to achieve in Riverside. Jesse and I are excited to extend our community and come together with a new group of folks in Bristol and Unity Park et al. So that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Jesse, who's going to go into a few more details about this.
Jesse, if you could state your full name and address for the record.
Thank you. It's Jesse Dwiggins, 144 Whipple Road, Smithfield, Rhode Island.
I don't think I said welcome, so welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Our company ethos and core belief is coffee is an experience worth sharing. In our Riverside Cafe, we have seen people buy their first house. We've seen people meet their future partner for the very first time. We've seen people agree and disagree over differing opinions, and it all happens over a cup of coffee. Coffee has been the catalyst for community building there in Riverside. And we have discovered, as Brian mentioned, that we don't sell coffee as much as we create a space for people to connect with each other. It was our goal when we opened the cafe in Riverside to be a community hub that hosted events like open mic nights, gallery openings for local artists, games nights. And we were successful with that for a time. We even hosted Hasbro, the toy company, for a focus group and beta testing of new games. The feedback that we have received consistently from our patrons is that they would attend these events and they would stay longer if they could have dessert and an after dinner drink. We ultimately ended many of our events because with the labor expenses, we were operating at a loss. And we have deliberately decided not to pursue a liquor license in Riverside. When we purchased that building, the depot in Riverside, we purchased it from the family who owns the Dairy Bee next door, the ice cream shop. Contingent on the sale of that building were some limitations on some dessert offerings that we could offer. And since we're not able to pair desserts with after dinner drinks in the way that we want to, it's not viable for that location, which is why we want to pursue it at another location. We were in negotiations with the National Grid building adjacent to the Tourister Mill. We were in negotiations for a lease there in Warren. And we were getting close to an agreement when Joe Brito tracked us down on a family vacation in Alaska and encouraged us to come tour Unity Park. And the spirit and totality of the project in Unity Park is a much better fit for our brand. So we chose Bristol instead of Warren. Our intent is to continue to be a catalyst for our community and host the events that we originally envisioned for Riverside. We'd like to reach out to the Community Strings Project in Bristol for music enrichment workshops. We'd like to offer a jazz combo or trio from Roger Williams University to come and play. Brian actually played bass trombone at Colorado State University in their jazz ensemble. That's where we met. And I convinced him to move back to Rhode Island. That's where I came back home for me to do my master's degree at URI. And I'm a little bit biased since Brian is my partner in life and in business, but I think having him here is a big win for Bristol and big win for Rhode Island and the East Bay. To accompany our events, we are going to offer decadent desserts and coffee-based cocktails. We'd like to have people visit after dinner for a dessert and a little nip when they have 2 more hours of the babysitter left, when they've went to a restaurant and they don't have that chocolate torte that they really wanted. We'd like people to come for weekend brunch and stay for a jazz trio. We'd like people and we'd like to realize the community building events that we had originally intended for Riverside. We believe that the ability to serve spirits will complement our complete menu of brunch foods, savory snacks, and desserts. We believe that our business plan will be an asset to Unity Park and to Bristol. And ultimately, we believe coffee and community are experiences worth sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. Council?
I just want to say that I think it's a great idea. I mean, there are some questions that we have just because of precedents that we've had as far as how we go about giving licenses out, usually beer and wine, which we'll talk about. But I remember when you first started mostly at farmers markets, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
And I've been there a few times. I think it's adorable, the place that you have. I don't know what I think about that smoky tea drink though, however, but I did get that a few weeks ago and I was like, interesting, but
Yeah, we call it the campfire. It's very smoky. If I make it, I always preface like it's very smoky. I usually will try to size somebody up and sort of adjust the amount of lapsang that we put in it because Be assertive.
It was interesting. It was interesting. Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think there's some issues. I think we all want to see Unity Park succeed. I think I agree. I personally agree with you that it's a big win to have you come to that location. And I don't drink a lot of coffee. I drink decaf, like maybe not only maybe before 2 o'clock. But I just love coffee culture. I just love the places that you can go to and what they have. And sitting there with either yourself or somebody that you're gonna have a meeting regarding work or whatever issues. And in our case here, it might be with constituents, but you know, I think it's a great thing. And there are not too many places like that. But as you know, the location is one where there are several liquor licenses already there not in the park itself, but in the neighborhood. And that is a concern. But you know, that's my thoughts.
Brian, I had a chance to talk to your wife Jessie before you came in here, and I was telling her that I went and checked out your store over there in East Providence. I met one of my colleagues there. We worked all afternoon. We got a lot of work done during that time, and the coffee was great, and the sandwiches were huge. I told your wife, my colleague had to bring some home to her husband. So it's my understanding that you're looking at a 10 p.m. closing with this spot. You've gotten all positive recommendations from some of the others. You're looking at doing local jazz combos, open mic nights, things like that. And it does remind me a lot of some of the other kinds of coffee shops I've seen around as well. And so it's pretty exciting to think about having the opportunity for something like this. And so I think it's something I can support.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just like to say I'm very excited to hear what's happening, what you are coming from your business plan and the culture that you're going to bring to town. We're happy you're choosing Bristol, not Warren. So just I want to point that out. But I'm also really excited about Unity Park. The restoration has gone tremendously. It's completely turned around. I think it's going to be a very, very exciting economic driver over there in town. New businesses, economic generator. It's going to be a net positive for Bristol. Regarding the full liquor license, I'm for it. I think, you know, what you're going to do with bringing culture and the types of special cocktails that you're going to do, it's not the type of booze like fest. You're creating an experience where you enjoy it and you leave and you're having a good time there. I know we have some other liquor licenses in that area, but you're a specialty. It's part of your business plan, and it's part of that thriving over there. And we want that to thrive. So I'm definitely in support of the full liquor license.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's wonderful that you come in to join in. In fact, I spent some time this weekend sort of walking around there because I have a couple of questions about the cut that was requested there, just to visualize. But anyway, going back to you, I just think the place is looking wonderful. It's coming alive, you know, and certainly from the days that I've known and what it's becoming, it's a wonderful experience. And certainly, you know, we welcome you here. As to the license, we've had just recently another new business that also was before us. And we've been very cautious about how we proceed with that. And I would have somewhat of an issue for us to loop that policy or the consistency in which we have done it. You know, specific, well, I'm not going to get into the other individual, nothing to do with you. However, I would go with a limit, but not a full license, you know, for at least a 6-month probationary period. Certainly, you know, with the intent to support you all the way through afterwards.
If I could just say one more thing, I think that is, you know, everything we do sets precedent. And we have, so, you know, when the first pizza place came in and wanted beer and wine, you know, that there's going to be a flood of every pizza place going to be coming in. And we've already had one coffee shop ask for a liquor license in the past, and that was denied. And so whatever we do with you guys, even though you've got a much broader scope, you've got a lot more space, I think of it more like maybe the 7 Stars in Rumford, you know, space wise. I'm thinking, I think we're going to have, there's probably only 2 other just coffee shops in town. I mean, they will probably be coming in for something similar. And we have to, I think we have to be measured in how we go about doing that. And so, you know, the other thought that I had, and I don't even know if it's a good one or not, to be honest, sort of speaking out loud, just thinking out loud is, you know, is there any, and this might be, our solicitor might want to weigh in, or the council members, just any benefit of allowing, you know, Unity Park with X number of licenses down, you know, like, because they already got one, you would be second, and I don't think there's any others right in that plan that I could see. Well, I say 3, so that is like a separate, little bit of a separate area. Like I said, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I just something that I thought of as separating this out. But anything that we do, I mean, is it feasible for you to start off with your regular business and with beer and wine? I realize you're a coffee culture, and the coffee drinks, you're a coffee roaster, that's your brand, and the coffee drinks require alcohol. And so I'm just curious what your thoughts are about like the 6-month limited license and see how that goes.
Yeah. I think we might miss out on an opportunity for synergy with the distillery next door to us. And one thing that we did notice in Riverside, is it possible? Yes. And one thing we did notice with Riverside, when we opened right away, we said, we're not going to offer any food because we are primarily a roaster, and that is our specialty. We're not great at making food. We've been open for 5 years, and we've just launched a full food menu, and people were asking for the past 5 years for a food menu. And I think what we are hoping to avoid is we want to capture people's eating habits and spending habits and buying choices earlier on in our business versus later on. What we have noticed with launching the food menu at our current location is longtime customers still don't understand that we have, despite our marketing efforts, don't know that we have a full food menu. And we wonder if we are losing revenue because of that.
So just, yes, just in a moment though. So I think my colleagues have made some really great points and capture things well. You certainly have a lot of enthusiasm. It sounds like it would fit well. I actually, on a process and a policy end of things, I can't support a full liquor license right now. I certainly would be happy to consider a limited BV license, so beer and wine initially. Why? Because all of our past practice, or our semi-recent past practice, has done that. My colleague mentioned we had a recent applicant which we did not have prior experience with, and we gave a limited BV. And the idea is that open, become, be the neighbor that you're suggesting that you're going to be, and I think you are. And then in 6 months' time, come back to the council. As long as everything's fine, this council consider a full liquor license at that point. That'd be one. 2 is that you mentioned Unity Park and all the reasons why you'd like to look at it. And again, my colleagues captured it well. It looks beautiful. It was, it did not look beautiful for a long time. How's that? So it does look beautiful now, and it's getting to that end. And I think that you would be a great addition to that. What's in front of the council, though, is that we have a new establishment, a pizza place. It's a wood-fired, I shouldn't call it a pizza place because it's not a pizza place, right? But they have a full liquor license. And then we have a brewery going in there that we don't control the liquor license, but it is serving alcohol. So we have 2 places that have not opened yet that we don't know what the impact's going to be on that. And this is a lot of change over there. It has been many years that it was quiet or manufacturing, industrial. And I'm very concerned about the impacts to the neighbors. Now, I don't believe that your intentions are anything but what you've said they are. Yeah. But with 3 new establishments, with 2 new liquor license, but 3 places serving alcohol, along with the sports club, the common pub, La Central, there's a lot going on there. So simply, I like the idea. I think it's a great addition. I could and would support a limited BV and then come back in front of us in 6 months. And if it goes well, then I would fully support a full liquor license. I like your ideas. I like the close at 10 o'clock. Obviously, this is a liquor license. This is not a bar. Yeah. So you would serve food, and we are, and we said this to the last applicant, is that restaurant first, bar second, right? So food and obviously coffee and all of that. I got to tell you on a side note, it sounds like a place that I would go and have. But as I sit in this seat, there are neighbors on Shaw's Lane, Bradford, Wood Street, Rock Street, and those are just a few of them. That's who we need to make sure that we're making those decisions for. And I believe ultimately that this will be good. I also can't hold you at a lesser standard than the last gentleman that was here and the people before him. It's not fair.
Yep.
And you're not asking us to do that. I'm just giving you the justification of why and where I would come from with a limited BV. So
Thank you.
before, I know I just said a lot there. Colleagues, I wanted to give you an opportunity, and then Mr. Berto wanted to speak.
Sure.
Anything
Just
else?
had a clarifying question,
Please.
Mr. Chairman. From looking at the menu, my understanding is the BV even on the table or is it off the table? I mean, is that even a consideration or?
Well, one of the pages says beer and wine right on it. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just wanted to.
Yeah, you were correct. Obviously, like the original idea is to pair the cocktails and the coffee, like coffee martinis, like, we have some creative like Irish coffees and things like that. Given the opportunity to come back in 6 months, if that is the option, then I think that we are absolutely willing to do whatever we need to do to appease the council and show that we are, have all the best intentions and that it would be nothing but a positive impact on the neighborhood and the community.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right.
And when
I
would
just
you
wanted to get
be opening?
clarification.
But I'm sorry, Mayor.
I'm saying, when would you think you would be ready to open?
Optimistically at the beginning of next year. Realistically, it might be a few months into the beginning of the next year.
So March, April.
Yeah,
kind of
March,
thing.
It's a
April.
moving target at this point.
Yes.
Whatever you think, add 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So, yep. Excellent.
So,
Anything? Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I just wanted to reinforce. So the limited BV for you, the beer and wine, that'll work for you for 6 months.
Yes, I didn't mean to imply that it wouldn't. I was hoping
Okay.
to
Yeah.
state my
That's why I want
case
to make
for
sure.
why
I
it, yeah.
just want to make sure
Yeah.
we were clear. Cool.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
Mr. Berto? Could you state your full name and address for the record, please?
My name is Joseph Matthew Brito Jr., and I'm a resident of Bristol. A few things I wanted to mention is that, first of all, I understand the debate that's going on very well. But as we all know, the first impression is the best impression. Keeping in mind that they're going to be drafting from outside the community, and that's what they're trying to do, which is a revenue stream, which is a basis for the town as well. I know that you're suggesting going with a 6-month turnaround with a beer and wine license. But the suggestion that I have is you always have the power to renegotiate a license. It's not where if you give a full license now, you can't revisit that down the road if you choose to in 3 months or 6 months. So the only thing I would like to say is that obviously the town administrator, the police chief, the fire chief, the director of development, and all those agencies that had to review this all found it to be palatable and, if anything, acceptable to the fabric of what we're trying to do with Unity Park. So, when we, meaning the town council and us, got into this, it was with the understanding that there were only very few restrictions that we had and to do whatever we could do to breathe life into that park. So my suggestion would be that knowing that you have the powers to make adjustments as time goes on, is to maybe entertain the thought of letting them have a full license now and revisiting that in 6 months or 3 months if you choose to. But I'm concerned that they'll lose the momentum of what they're trying to do when they open. We all go to a restaurant when it first opens and we all have expectations of what it's going to be. But sometimes we don't go back because we don't have we see the other offerings that they have down the road. Keeping in mind, you have the law school of Roger Williams down the road, that we have the amount of expertise that they have in their marketing share. The way they're going to be marketing their business is diametrically different than the Portuguese Club that Tony and I know, that Mr. Texera and I know, or the restaurant that's on the corner of the street, or Common Pub. Those have a clientele that's diametrically different to what they're going to be doing. As far as the neighborhood, I can speak comfortably that as a result of what we're doing, the prices of the housing around us have definitely increased. I've gotten that directly from the real estate agents in the area, that what we're doing is creating value around them. So I would like you to consider giving them a full license with a suspension, not a suspension, but a suspender, that they come back in 3 months or 6 months and you can see how the water is going. But I hate to see them lose that opportunity that they could have to have an impact in the area. I think they've already explained to you what their vision is, that it's going to be part of the culture of the area. I can see chess tournaments going on over there. I can see a multitude of things that they want to do. Having community strings come in, I think, is a hell of a value. And I don't believe you're going to be open till 10 o'clock every night. I think it's just on the weekends. Am I correct? So it's just the weekends where they're going to be open until 10. I know that in speaking with George Sawyer, he applauds them being in the neighborhood and offering what he can, because it'll be more of a draft of individuals that wouldn't be coming to Bristol. I can see Barrington. They don't have anything like this. If you look at the communities around us, none of them have what he's trying to offer or what they're trying to offer. Borealis isn't a company, it's a family. And I think you've gotten that feeling from speaking with them, that they're totally committed to this town and totally committed to what they want to do. So I'd like you to just take a thought that, maybe we ought to reverse the process. Let them have a full license for now. Come back for a review in 3 to 6 months, because I hate to see them lose that momentum. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I know it's been kind of brought up and all of the colleagues have said something about the impacts on the neighbors and everything like that. And, there is the possibility that if
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Afterwards.
The solicitor was, please continue your
okay.
thought.
No, what I was just saying was that everybody's kind of brought up the fact that, this is a neighborhood and we're a little bit worried about, all these new liquor licenses being in the neighborhood. And I think everybody shares a little bit of that concern, but, also if we go with the full BV, there will be an opportunity for the neighbors to speak against it if they would like to at the public hearing. And in addition to that, we might find out that there's a lot of people that'll come out and speak in support of this as well. And maybe some neighbors who will speak in support of it. So, I'm not opposed to looking at some of these, especially if somebody comes in with a really strong business plan, looking at some of these on a case-by-case basis, if that business plan is extraordinarily strong. So that's where I might stand on it. So I'd be interested in hearing maybe some of your thoughts.
And I just wanted to mention, colleagues, that I think, we need to look at the value add of the businesses, that what this is going to do to downtown and what this is going to do to employment and just creating a whole Unity Park and changing Wood Street. So I think we have two options. We could either look at the full license with maybe a 3-month review, or we go with maybe the BV limited, but with a limited, maybe we go with 3 months with a review. But I honestly think we could go with the full and do a very short-term review process, even multiple review process, and just to see how it goes. Because at the end of the day, we do have the power to remove it. But I would hate for us to lose a good business that's going to bring the culture and the community and the charm and everything that we wanted businesses to be in Bristol, which we have a lot of them, but we want that whole concert going at once, and we would lose that business to go somewhere else. So just wanted you guys to consider that.
Well, I'm inclined to agree with Tim. The only thing I'm not sure, and maybe this is what Andy wanted to say, is that you have to, if you're going to strip somebody of their license, you have to do it for cause. Am I correct? I mean, where they are not, I don't know how much is like noise is an issue, as opposed to, serving underage people, those kinds of things, fights breaking out all the time, that sort of thing. I'm not sure that you can just take somebody's license away because there's been like 3 police calls there that are people arguing. Like, I'm not sure. That's what I would like to hear from Andy.
So let's pause. Andy, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I did just want to, it's up to you, the policy decision, obviously, whether you want to go right to the BV or start with the BV limited. But
from a legal point of view, if you start with the BV, you cannot easily go backwards to the BV limited or suspend it. As Mary was indicating, you need to have real cause. Right at the moment, there's no liquor license. You haven't issued it. You actually don't even have the license available. You have to first create it. So you have pretty much unlimited discretion at this point to say no and whatnot. Once you grant it, however, they've got a property right in it. And there really does have to be something significant for you to either suspend or revoke that license or to even go backwards to the limited license. So I just need to point that out. You can't go downward very easily. You can only go upward easily and expand the operation, but not decrease the extent of it.
I mean, I understand like Mr. Brito's point, and I'm inclined to agree with him, but I also think of a very, very popular coffee dessert cafe in Providence that is packed like not right now because of COVID, they don't even have table service there right now, but usually, I mean, you can't even get in near the place on a weekend. You can't, but it's much smaller, it's a much smaller building. And, and I think what they have going for them certainly is every single thing is consistent. They do what they do well. They don't like bring lots of other stuff in. And I think that's going to be like, the first impression is going to be not only the drinks, but like, are your desserts going to be something that's been sitting in your refrigerator for 3 days and it tastes like that? Or is it going to be something, fresh and unique and whatever? So, I mean, I totally understand the whole situation. And I think everyone's trying to be as fair as possible to you, as well as to all the other applicants that we have had recently and that we've had over time and will have, as well as making sure. And I don't think that your business is going to be one of the ones that's going to create noise or anything like that in the neighborhood. But that is an area where they're very tightly packed. They put up with a lot over the years with this building kind of being decrepit. So I think we're trying to watch out for everybody.
Andy, I just had a quick question. Is there any way, if we say my colleagues, we all decide to move forward with the full liquor license, is there any way to stagger in the activation of that license once? So say they open and we staggered it in after a month, or they would have the full, but they wouldn't be in, just sort of like moving it forward.
No, I don't think
Okay.
so. I don't think you can in any way regulate. Once you've given some a full license, you can't any way regulate what they can serve.
Okay.
Hours of operation, things like that, yes, but not what they can serve. That's governed by the state law.
Perfect. Thank you.
Andy, can I ask you one other question? That is my thought about like issuing the concept of issuing a couple of X number of licenses to Unity Park so that, to help them perform a certain way and get ramped up, as opposed to it being this. I mean, I think either way is going to be precedent setting for other people, but we can say, well, we gave them 3 licenses or 2 licenses because we're trying to support that location. And so that doesn't mean that we're going to give it to every coffee shop or everybody that comes for a license in downtown Bristol, for example. What is the idea of that? Like, what do you think about that? Is that a
Well,
feasible approach or not?
My usual answer, yes and no.
Okay.
It's not feasible in that sense. I mean, it's got to be the individual applicant in front of you. So giving it to Unity Park only works if Joe Brito is going to stand there with a white apron and run the bar himself. So that doesn't.
But it's a concept. I mean, we
Well,
have
as a
people
concept-
coming in like at, certain other locations like Roger Williams and others, where they have this sort of, certain things that they're allowed to do.
Right. Well, your policy of only providing the BV license, the limited first for new operators, people who don't have any history here in the town. That's only a policy anyway. I don't even think it's written. That's essentially your unwritten policy. It is important in the sense that you don't want people to start suing you for not treating it for equal protection violations. But it is a policy, so you can choose to amend the policy and If that's what you want to do as far as in granting a full BV here, whatever, you can say that, you can make a determination. This is the reason why place is different from other places. And that's kind of up to you as a council to do. I just think you have to be careful and think it through, and you might want to decide that you really want to even have a written policy on it, because otherwise, the next several applicants that coming before you will all have their reasons why they're different from everybody else. So I'd be concerned about doing it on an ad hoc basis.
Mike Firm?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I understand, fully. You obviously thought that you could live at least the first 6 months with a limited liquor license. Did I hear that correctly? Okay. There's, and my colleagues, I think you need to sort of rethink and think about what we just had recently before us. And with the statement made by our solicitor, I would proceed very cautiously. I would say that we should stay with the limited liquor license, at least for the next 6 months.
I think we've been very consistent and we've been very fair. And I think we can make a clear delineation from whether or not we like what you're proposing, and what we think it's going to be, and how that fits into our past practice and why we've done our past practice. I think the limited BV makes a lot of sense. I think even that is a chance that this council is taking. We do not have, none of those establishments are open yet. We have no idea what the impact is going to be as of yet. Do we believe it's going to be positive? Of course we do, or we would not have approved the liquor license for the wood fire pizza. We think it's going to be positive, and we think yours is going to be too. But the consistency and the fairness in which we treat all applicants, I think is massively critical. And if someone can come in and have a better business plan or a different reason or an idea, now bad business plan doesn't get you a liquor license at all, full stop. But if it's good and I guess I just can't get there. And what I like about your presentation and at the end of it, you said, yeah, we can work with a limited BV. You said it begrudgingly. I said that, not you. I get it. And I appreciate that. And I think my colleagues do too. And I would certainly support taking the chance to take a next step here. I think you're going to do an outstanding job. And by the way, I think the whole area looks just wonderful. And it's wonderful to see it take the next step. But in our position, we can't get lost in all the other things that go along with it. We're thinking about the people that live next door, and it's 10 o'clock, and to the best of your abilities, you've done everything right. And then people mill about outside. And the people that live next door deserve the same courtesies as everybody else. I know everyone here agrees on that. And that's how I personally think that we need to balance our thought process on this. So I think we've covered the bases on this. What I'm going to ask, please, unless any other colleague would like to add anything
I just
before.
have one quick other
Please.
question. That is, the clock starts when? Like, in other words,
When they open, because anything earlier than that would be,
right?
we won't know anything.
Because I mean, the thing is that if you hopefully can get open in the winter, I mean, there are many restaurants here that shut down a lot in the winter. It's not like, I know your place might bring people in because the hot drinks and things like that, but I mean, it would be really, I think, important to try to get open in the 6 month time review by the summer. So that in June, even late May, June, definitely by the 4th of July, that you can have the full thing. And there's a lot of people in town, and that might be something they'd be looking to do later in the evening, if they don't want to go to some of the waterfront places. So, I mean, I think that is, so I mean, I like Tim's idea of the 3 months, but it would be nice if they, if you can even open in some sort of partial way so that that clock starts to tick, in January or in just late December, something like that. I think that would be, I just don't know how much you're going to lose in the winter. That's all, but.
Come back over here, just to be formal. Yeah, I think that would be fair. I mean, we're trying to be open as quickly as possible. If we can be open, Thanksgiving, we would absolutely be open on Thanksgiving, but just given the timelines of, contractor availability and supplies and everything else, like we're just cautiously expecting to be January, February. I guess that's the main point. And so and we still have to apply for like the vigilation license and stuff as well. But in order to sort of like base the size of our kitchen and all the stuff that I'm doing in the kitchen, we're sort of strategically buying the stuff to do like the later dinner menu and stuff like that, like the desserts and stuff, the laminator and all that stuff. Is actually part of a kitchen that we haven't even started procuring equipment for yet. So that would be something that would be coming with the full, some of the other options.
But I mean, you could be open for the coffee and some of your other stuff prior to that, correct? If you wanted to stagger that opening?
Yeah, correct. I mean, we'll be able to open with our existing menu just by copying and pasting what we have. And, obviously the goal is to like get a pastry chef, get an actual proper chef, not just a sandwich assembler, which is basically what we have right now. And yeah, so we'll be gradually building things up. So
in regards to a timeline with us, it's 6 weeks out. So if this, depending on what this council decides in a moment, whatever that outcome is, then the next is the first reading. And then 3 weeks after that, at our next meeting would be the second reading, public hearing, at that second meeting. So we're talking about 6 weeks out from, in essence, today, approximately, just ballpark.
So if we could apply with backing out 6 weeks from, so that like after the
So
6
you would
months from
apply
the
in
opening-
tandem on that line. So on that, our 2 meetings from now, if you will, would be the potential creation of a license. And then obviously you looking to take that license. So,
Okay. But it
that's
is really separate license that we'd be going through the whole process.
correct. It does not exist
Either one-
currently.
Either
Correct. Right.
Either license, the limited or the full one would
Right.
need the same
So
thing.
it's not a matter of just upgrading the partial, the beer and wine to.
Nothing exists at this moment. There
Very
is no license. So we have to create it, then we can, and we
You
can
said, like,
grant
all the
it.
people like Aiden and all them that were here earlier, they all started at the last meeting,
Correct.
like we put the public hearing and all that, and then, yeah.
But in the event that, you vote in favor of creating even like a limited BV, the BV limited, it's not a matter of just upgrading the BV limited. It's a whole new license. It's
Right.
Yes, so to that end, so
Okay.
if we create a limited BV, we
Right.
must, and then you come in back in front, that was really bad. You come back in front of us in 6 months, we would have to create a
Gotcha.
BV license and destroy that limited BV at the same time. And those also happen. In tandem.
Okay, understood.
And the idea is that a license out there has to be, if someone applies for it, unless there's a reason to say, no, you have to grant it. So we don't have any out there. So we always create and remove, as the case might be.
But you don't have to wait till the 6 months to come in and ask
Correct.
for the upgrade. You could come in, like, say you opened in January, you could come in by March or April to
Right.
ask for it, so that it's in the process, so that at that time.
And you use
you'd
the
already
time
have it.
wisely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, okay,
Absolutely.
so we'd be able to establish the deadline of being like, because by that point we'll have.
As you can
appropriation.
hear, even from me having these concerns on it, we do want to work with you and we'll figure
Yeah.
out a way to make the timelines work. But what I would ask this council, we've certainly had a lot of dialogue on it. So I would ask for a motion for next steps.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we grant what's the best way here?
Refer to the solicitor.
Refer to
Exactly.
the solicitor to create a limited license.
So an ordinance to create, right?
Mhm.
Is there a second? I will second.
Second.
Okay, Tim second. So Tony made the motion, Tim seconded to take the next steps to refer to the solicitor to create an ordinance to create an additional limited DV license. That was seconded by Tim. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, so next steps at this point, as you know, is that our next meeting will be first reading, no discussion. Meeting after that is when the rest of it would happen at that point in time. Thank you all for
Thank you.
taking the time and effort. We appreciate it and we truly wish you
Thank
luck.
you.
Yeah.
Can we
Glad
ask
you're
a
here.
question to Mr. Brito on that, on his plan, or no? Oh, right.
I think it's a perfect time to do that.
That's
And Mary,
right.
you can ask the question in regards. So just to remind everybody, we pulled from the consent agenda, KK1.
KK1, right.
which connects through F3A, right? Correct.
Yeah, I just had a question on F3A, and that was, I see that some of these, some of your units are filled with like the kombucha place and the Duck and Bunny. Are they like leaving, aren't they now at Hope in Maine? Are you becoming like their next growth location, Joe, or?
We're actually working with Hope in Maine as their young entrepreneurs reach a certain level and they're out of space and they really need to move on. They're coming to us.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can
Nice.
tell you unequivocally that we have not advertised once for anyone that's coming to us at Unity Park. You should applaud yourselves also for that because you had the faith in us to make this all work collectively, and that's why it's called Unity Park. But also Lisa Raiola and Waterman, as these young incubator businesses are striving to get ahead, such as Basil and Bunny. And of course, I'm going to say this wrong and I apologize, but Kabuchi. That's a young lady who is really on fire, who's going to be putting her product in dispensary little kegs and things. I mean, it's really a happening. I mean, we're on the cutting edge, guys. I mean, I really mean what's happening there.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about, I mean, I'm a huge supporter of Hope in Maine. Maine, I know I've seen you guys at some of the
Right.
fundraisers, and I think that's awesome that you're gonna be like the next place for them once they like outgrow Hope in Maine. That's terrific.
Yes, Ms. Barella.
That's good. That's good.
Yes, I was there this afternoon, as I stated, take a little walkabout. Am I okay to do that?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. And I noticed also that there was a curb cut, and I was looking at the sketch that I have, and I brought that along to try to visualize what it would look like.
Right.
Are you reducing the entrance by
No,
any
not,
chance?
not dramatically. What we're doing is with that curb cut, we have had a informal discussion with the Department of Public Works on what's taking place there. And what we're actually doing is we're doing work on town property to beautify that entrance coming together. There are broken concrete pieces on the sides of it. The curbing in one area is you can't even find it. So what we're doing is in order to beautify the entrance coming in, we're taking the leap of expense to have us pay for that as opposed to the town beautifying that area where they have all those broken pieces of concrete.
Right. Yeah, I noticed you have two ballasts in front of one of the
May I
doors.
walk up to see what you're looking at, please?
Certainly. This is the curb cut. Sure. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So no one's going to be able to hear you if you're. That's
No,
unfortunate.
Okay. Then the ballasts actually, I think it was in this one here. You have two ballasts, which I think is a great idea to protect that door. No, I did see it somewhere. Yeah, right in here on this side. There's two ballasts right in front of the door. I saw in one of the sketches.
That's a return of, there's a bar right. there's a
Right.
drinking bar here.
Mhm.
That's the return of the drinking bar. And it's
Okay.
wide enough where the door still be in contact. I'll
Super.
go back and say.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony,
What
can you
Mr.
repeat the
Texera
question?
is referencing is the formal entrance into the brick restaurant where the doors are, but there are drink rails along the sides of where that is. And that's the corner of the drink rail. That's not anything to protect the door because that's away from the door,
Right. okay.
doors.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just need a motion to receive and file unless there's other.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to receive and file. Looking very exciting down there, Joe.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank
So-
you.
So the curb cut's
Thank
all set now?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
no,
was
there
actually.
not a question
Yeah.
about that. It was just for my visualizing.
Right,
okay?
right. No,
But
I
I'm not
understand.
questioning, no.
No, I
It was all
I thoroughly
set.
understand. But for my own edification, I didn't know if there's anything else for the curb cut or we're all set.
The
I'm
curb,
good.
just for clarity on that question, the curb cuts are in our consent agenda. When they are suggested that we deny them, then they go to the regular agenda.
Mhm.
Yours was in the consent agenda like most, and it was suggested that it
Okay.
should be approved, and it happens administratively through DPW and the administrator.
So we're all set then.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you need me for? If not, I
Thank
want to
you.
thank you. And
Thank
again,
you.
I'm going to say it one more time. I want to thank this council as well as the zoning board, the planning board, the historic district commission, of everyone working together to make that blight the change that it's going to be. And I can only thank you very much. And there's one other thing I want to say is that as much as I'm the face here this evening and the generator of trying to make this happen, Ed Cox is my sidekick on all this. Eddie's put a lot of hours in down there. You know, he's our CFO, but he's a CFO with a degree in construction management now. So I just want to reference that Eddie's done a hell of a job working with me and making this all come together. It doesn't happen by one person. It happens by the team that we all have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I
Joe.
think we're
Thank
lucky
you.
that you have this project, Joe, and that it's moving along as it is. You know, I think it's terrific. I know that you've run into snags, as everybody has, because of the situation with supplies and things like that, but I think it's really, I mean, I think everybody's very happy that a local person is taking this project on. And I was over there to check out the Pilates place the other day, and I mean, it's really, some of these buildings are just like, they're massive and they're just coming along really well.
Well, to address that very short, because I know you have other agenda items, we've only had this project for just a little over a
I
year,
know, it's
and we
amazing.
have it 90% full,
I know. it's
close to
amazing.
90% full. And right now, I mean, if it wasn't for windows and doors because of COVID and lack of materials, I mean, we would have had these places open this past summer.
Right.
And that's the sad part of it. So
Yeah.
granite curbing we're waiting for now is a shortage. I mean, it's just pulling it all together, but we will get it done. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Joe.
Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is G1, and this is for public service. This is the Special Constable Fire Police. It's the term to expire January 22. And this is for a recommendation from the Fire Chief DeMello for John Carrero and Walter Monroe.
Make a motion that we appoint, that we support the chief's recommendation.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Tim to support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is G2, and this is the Christmas Festival Committee, and this is this is for Dana Maderas and Marguerite Genario.
Motion to accept the new members.
Second.
Motion made by Tim, seconded by Tony. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, and thank you. Thank you to the board and commission members, some that were discussed this evening, others that were not, for their efforts and energies that they give back to the town. The town and this council appreciates it. Thank you.
Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is H1, and this is Brenda Turcott, the Executive Director for Mount Hope Farm. And this is for the review and the approval of the proposed revision to the Mount Hope Farm bylaws, and this is continued from September 8th.
Okay.
Could you state your full name and address for the record?
Sure. Brenda Turchetta, representing Mount Hope Farm at 250 Metacom Ave.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you all. So I believe, Chairman, if I
Please.
may, the crux of what we're trying to close out on tonight is there were changes requested to Articles 3 and 4 of our bylaws. And based on what you were looking to change, it was so minor, there was no actual change in the spirit of the language. It was just kind of rewording it a little bit. So we spoke with our general counsel, that sits on our board. And he said, he agreed, this can just be made a change without having to go back to your board and vote and spend all this time waiting and deliberating. So those two changes have been made. New bylaws will be presented to you for your records, reflecting those changes.
So Councilwoman Perella, Vice Chairman Perella had said at our last meeting, and Andy, I'm just going to propose this to you, that, and Mary, if I may, the 501c3 was a question that make sure that we didn't limit only nonprofits that were 501c3, because we have nonprofits that are not 501c3. And do you, in your belief, is there any reason that we need to change that? Will that language limit it from those nonprofits, or because it says there is, actually it doesn't say nonprofits in there, it says 501c3s. So
it does limit it, as you indicate, not all nonprofits are 501c3s. 501c3s kind of are often seen as an imprimatur of legitimacy of a nonprofit. I mean, anybody can register with Rhode Island Secretary of State as a nonprofit corporation. The 501c3 gives you the opportunity to take contributions that people can then deduct on their taxes. So it is limiting, but it is different. It's up to that point.
So Mary, this of course was your
I think
question.
it was like partly because, and I can't remember if it was in another section, you know, like for people like the 4th of July committee or the Christmas festival, people think that they are 501c3s. They're not.
Right.
You know, and to make sure, so there may be many nonprofits, like small organizations. There are groups that I'm involved with that are very small, that, you know, wouldn't have the reasoning and the ability to go and get the whole 501c3.
Right.
I mean, how do you, so the town bodies, I can't recall if they're addressed somewhere else in there,
Well,
but it,
if I may, so there was language that was proposed back to me from Mr. Ursullo,
Mhm.
and it suggested we change the language that's there now. So the language said town event sponsored by town 501c3s. We change it to read event sponsored by the town, which would then include town 501c3s and events sponsored and/or events sponsored by Indigenous people, specifically Pokanoket, may be provided a discounted rental cost if space is available. So we're not denying what you're saying.
Mhm.
What I actually had gone back on, and I understand Mr. Ursullo is out of town, is that we want to further define or understand your definition of availability, because we do have an agreement with an exclusive caterer during the summer months, or, you know, May through October, we're very busy with weddings. So we would lose significant amount of revenue if the 4th of July committee came to us and said they want to have a meeting on, you know, June 30th, which happens to be a Saturday. We would miss out on having that revenue, and we can't black out dates with their caterer. So, right. So I'm saying it's more just understanding that we're all on the same page of what availability means. We may have, it might be limited at certain times of year.
I would say that, yeah, I would say that if it's space available, I mean, not gonna take up, I can't imagine any group, like any of the wedding venues, taking anything small on a summer weekend.
Right, right.
you know?
No, exactly. It's more just protecting to make sure we're all on the same page, because I think historically, sometimes I think we have had differences of understanding of things, and I want to make sure everything's very clear,
That was
that
well
we don't
put.
mislead you
Yeah.
guys. I don't want to, you know, I want to be very
I
clear.
think they'd have to come to you and see if there's availability. So if the chief
Yeah.
marshal, or they wanted to have the ball down there,
Mhm.
you know, that they
Yep.
would get at a reduced rate if there was
Sure.
availability and you could accommodate them.
Yep.
That's what I would think. And
Okay.
That is exactly what
That's
I
the
was thinking.
spirit
too.
of what is
And
Yeah.
being sought.
you
Okay.
just
Yeah.
captured the word spirit, right? The
Yeah.
intent here is it's not,
Yeah.
we obviously don't want to take away revenue generation.
Right.
But we also want to make sure that they're given that
Sure, absolutely.
extra little bit, if you will.
Yeah. Okay, so we will take that back. We just
Mhm.
have to, that would be something we do need to, I believe, from what I've been told, that would need to go before our board. They have 21 days to review. We vote, we can, and I believe we could then do all that, update our bylaws accordingly. I don't anticipate a problem. And then I could just provide the updated bylaws back to all of you.
Can I just say that in the memorandum from Mike Ursullo, it
Mhm.
says if space is available.
It does.
Yeah.
My concern was defining availability.
Oh, no.
I know I was being picky, but it was just
Yeah.
to make sure we're clear on what that looks like. So,
So
We're good.
another reason why we had all been speaking recently was talking about access to the farm.
Yes.
Could you just restate for this
Sure.
council and the public what the hours are
Sure.
now? And also,
the entry.
I know that we've talked a couple times about signage. I know that those things continue to be in process
Yep.
because of, we were just talking about
think we've
COVID
run
and
into- yeah,
availability.
we've-
Yes. So if you could speak to that real quick.
Yeah, so we're open daily from 8 AM until 6 PM. The gates down at what we call South Pasture, but which is the large green gate that goes down to the field. We had to close that due to past issues with some vandalism and damage and not being able to monitor that entry point. So that was closed, but the main entrance, there's no gate. You just go in, you park your car right by the barn, and you can go for a walk. We're, again, open 8 to 6. And we are working on the signs. I'm working with Hill House Graphics. He's just a little behind. He's got a lot of jobs going on. So I don't have the signs, but it is on our website.
Perfect.
And it's been everywhere, we've updated online, et cetera.
I just wanted to comment on your website administrator and the app. I think they're great. It just, if you are going to modify those hours, if you could have your administrator go in and, change those hours
Sure.
on the website or on the app, because I think it's a really nice way, because most of the time people go right out. I have the app, go right out there. I look, oh, it's open.
Yep.
And then you get there and it's maybe closed for
Okay.
some reason.
Okay.
Just something to,
Okay.
just because we're so phone driven today,
Right.
everybody's checking things online.
Okay.
So
Great.
just
Good point.
just some feedback.
No, any feedback
Thank you.
important. Thank you.
So maybe we can vote to approve and have it come back in front of the council only if there's issue with the Mount Hope Board
Yeah.
not voting as we've discussed.
Sure.
I don't think, it doesn't sound like, it just sounds like a normal process issue.
Yes.
But I don't think it needs to come back in front of us unless there's an issue, unless my colleagues disagree. Okay. Andy, could you help us with a motion on this? Because we've got the bylaws and that's pretty much it. So
Yeah, I think. I think your motion, the council basically needs to approve it. So I think your motion is to ratify the bylaws as amended.
And the amendment is Mike's.
as amended and then including the suggested change, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that includes the earlier changes about the fact that the things that require the town's approval still require the town's approval going forward.
Yes.
They can't be amended without future town approval.
Is there a so moved?
So move.
Second.
And I have just one
Discussion,
question, discussion. Did I miss on number 3, the memo from Mike Orsillo? Okay, where it says event sponsored by the town. Are we going to remove town 501(c)(3)?
We're going to remove 501(c)(3).
I mean, see,
So it's just going to say event sponsored by the town for town organization.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Perfect. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. all.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is I1, and this is the State of Rhode Island Coastal Resource Management Council. This is a public notice for Rockland LLC.
Just need a motion, receive and file unless there's action that we want to take.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
There's a motion to receive and file made by Tim, seconded by Tony. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is I2, and this is a request for executive session.
We'll take that up at the end, please.
Next item on the agenda is I3, and this is Fire Chief DeMello in regards to an ARP broadband fiber project.
Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you.
Good
Just a brief update on it. We are making great progress, so that continues to the positive theme of the night. So we're looking forward to.
I like you.
You like? I'm learning from you, Nate. I'm picking up some
Thank you.
things. But there's still work to be done, so we're still looking at a lot of different things. It's a.
Want to continue this a couple of meetings out?
Oh, absolutely. I
2 or
would say
3?
I'd go with a couple of meetings and we'll take it from there. If we need to bump it a little farther, we will. A lot of work to do still, a lot of things to look at. So Chris is jumping on board and helping out with a lot of it. But I think it's going to be another great positive impact, that's going to work for us. And that's what we want to do, is make sure it's going to work for us. So that's it.
Maybe we can have a motion to.
Motion to continue to the December 22nd meeting?
That'd be great.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just briefly, Chief, thank you for the amount of work, and Chris and whoever else has assisted you with this. It was quite interesting reading through it because I'm looking at this elsewhere. So it was very, very informative.
Yeah, and what you have is kind of that, like, I'm in a space shuttle, I'm looking down, I'm looking at
Right.
all these potential things we can do. So now that we've identified that, we're going to look at the things that we should do, or the ones that'll make the best impact and give us the best bang for our buck.
Excellent.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chris.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is J1, and this is for RFP 964, the irrigation pump system for Bristol Golf Course. We did have the bid opening on October 15th. There was one bid that was received from DAF Services, Inc. in the amount of $50,393.
Make a motion to refer to the town administrator to act in the best interest of the town.
Second.
Motion made by Tony to refer to the administrator, seconded by Tim. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is K1, and this is the report from the Bristol County Water Authority, the monthly report from Alan Klepper.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Motion made to receive and file. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. It's your part of the show, Andy.
I would request that the council, a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, Section 42-46(5)(a)(1), discussion of job performance / character, Ray Oriane Lima and John Allen, Historic District Commission members. And I would also note for the record that they have both received written notice of this and their ability to require this to be held in public, and they have not exercised that right. So it would remain in executive session.
I just need to
So move.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we can say goodnight because we'll come back out of executive session, which does not require cameras on. So good night, everyone, and thank you.